Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. Today is the 5th video in a series where I'm taking episodes from season 8 of American Horror Story Apocalypse, and I'm doing kind of an autumnal makeup look and talking about the episode. Tonight's episode was Boy Wonder, and I'm using the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. So if you'd like to see how I got this look and have a little conversation about this episode of American Horror Story, please keep watching. All right, so we begin the first segment kind of where we left off last time, which is Cordelia is passed out in kind of the real world, but we're in her vision. And her vision is of this apocalyptic future, zombies and gore and people kind of eviscerating her, zombies eviscerating her, but she sees this figure that I think she recognizes as Michael, laughing as she's kind of being killed in this vision. And he has the white face, same white face that Mallory saw when she was having her one-on-one with Michael. I'm gonna go in with this now just so it has a little time to sit in. So then she wakes up and she's yelling out for people. She's yelling out for Myrtle and Zoe and Queenie, not for Madison. But now she's back in the room with all of them and she wants to see the boy because she's had this vision. So she goes into the room with all of the warlocks and Michael, and she says she's going to administer the 7 wonders in 2 weeks during the blood moon, which mercifully we don't have to wait for 2 weeks to see. The only hope that we have of surviving is what I do next. That's interesting. I'm gonna start with Riff with a fluffy brush. Then we have the credits, and then we're back at Miss Robichaux's, and Myrtle is just appalled about the fact that Cordelia has conceded to administer the 7 wonders. And Myrtle says, history has shown us that the hubris of men knows no bounds. Cordelia says, I'm scared. What if it's my hubris, my inability to cede my position to this boy that leads us down this dark path? I will not put my own selfish desires before the coven. I'm not my mother. And then Myrtle says, basically, that we need to learn from Fiona, and that someone passing the 7 wonders doesn't inherently mean that they'll be fit to lead a coven. And she's talking about Fiona when she says that Fiona passed the 7 wonders but wasn't actually capable of leading a coven. Now I'm gonna go in with Hellride, it's appropriate. Cordelia says that she is getting weaker, and we see a shot of her. She has like a wound on her abdomen. I'm not sure what that is, but it's not healing. So she is getting weaker. And Myrtle says when that day comes, cast your net wide. You yourself were overlooked. No one even imagined that you would emerge until your power was undeniable. And then she starts talking about Mallory. And again, we're back 3 years ago. This is before the apocalypse. And we see them all out gathering herbs for Ratatouille. And there is an injured fawn, a baby deer, and Mallory doesn't just heal it, this deer. Myrtle says she undid the wounds. Gonna go in with a smaller brush with Good As Gone, the brown. Mallory comes in and says that Cordelia's 2 o'clock is there, and 2 o'clock is Coco. And Coco is there with her father, who's trying to get her put into the academy, and Coco doesn't want to go. And she basically, what she can do is she can sense if something is going to be harmful. She was at Adina DeLuca with her brother, and there was a cookie that he was reaching for, and she got a weird feeling, and she pushed it out of his hand, and turned out that he has celiac disease. She is downplaying everything, but what Cordelia says is that, you know, you're coming here to have your powers grow. And I have a question about this, because I'm gonna go in with Ignite, this kind of coppery color over my whole lid. When the apocalypse happens, Mallory is on a video call with her father. So I'm wondering if they put that identity spell on everybody, because they put an identity spell on Coco so she wouldn't remember who she was. But her father knows her as Coco, the like Instagram phenomenon. He doesn't know her as Coco, my daughter, who I sent to Miss Robichaux's Academy in New Orleans 3 years prior. So I am wondering about that. And then Cordelia calls for Mallory, and Mallory comes in and welcomes her to Miss Robichaux's. I'm gonna go in with Double Life, same brush, I'm just gonna flip it over, and I'm gonna hit that on the outside of my lid. Then we are back at Hawthorne. The warlocks are preparing Michael for the 7 wonders. They're putting together this concoction of blood, water, and salt to give him strength and energy and purify him for the 7 wonders. And he seems uncomfortable a little bit in this circle, and he accepts it. And there's a big whoosh of wind that blows out the fire. And then we get this exchange between Michael and John Henry, where Michael flashes and his eyes go dark, and it seems like John Henry knows who he is, or at least is afraid about who he is. Gonna go in with Stranded, just in my inner corner with a biggish pencil brush. So then John Henry rushes to his room and is packing his bags. Chablis, Behold Chablis is his name, comes in, and he comes in with drinks to kind of celebrate the occasion, and realizes that John Henry's leaving, and he's angry first. He says, "You're jealous. You think his ascendancy diminishes you." John Henry angrily kind of psychically pushes him up against the wall and says, "I'm not angry, Behold, I'm scared." So we now have 2 people saying that they're scared. We have Cordelia and we have John Henry, both saying that they're scared. It seems like Behold is kind of understanding the gravity of what he's saying a little bit. We then have John Henry at the gas station, and Mead comes up, and I think this is actually Mead. I think we still haven't seen how Mead dies. I think this is the human, not the robot. And she cuts his Achilles heels, which is a little too literal, and then burns him up as he's on his way. He's on his way to Miss Robichaux's to get answers. Then we see Michael and Mead together. Mead confirms that John Henry is dead, and then it turns out that Ariel is the one that told Mead where to go to find him. And as Michael and Mead are going over to see Ariel, Mead says he's the one that set this up, and he knows everything, but don't tell him about your father. Then we have another commercial break. We are having the 7 wonders administered, and it's the old-timey, almost silent film looking footage, which is a callback to Coven, because they used the same kind of film formatting there. And he gets through the first 6 really quickly and really easily. And then we are back at Hawthorne. Gonna go in with Fenty Pro Filter Foundation in 150 and 190. I'm gonna mix them a little bit. One's too dark, one's a little too light. So Cordelia says, "Today I'm not asking you to perform this wonder, I'm asking you to conquer it." She wants Misty Day brought back. And the Warlocks, Behold, and the other guy are saying that this is impossible and it's not fair and it's suicide. And then Ariel asks her for an aside, so they go into a separate room and they're talking about it. And Ariel says, "You're changing the rules and that Michael should only have to ascend as you did." And she says, "You didn't see what I saw. Our world hangs in the balance, there's a darkness coming, and if Michael's going to be the one to lead us, he needs to be able to withstand anything." And Ariel doesn't agree. I'm gonna go in with Fenty Linen as concealer. And basically, Ariel is saying, "I saw you drop, seeing you getting weaker, and you are fading, your power is fading, but you're afraid to let go." And Cordelia says, "You've hit a wall, that you're the Grand Chancellor, but that's all that you'll ever be able to be." And Ariel says, "You are your mother's daughter. You may come with a kinder facade, but deep down you're nothing more than a weak, frightened woman, just like Fiona." To which Cordelia responds, "With a flick of my finger, I could crush your larynx and tear out your throat. Do not for one second think that I am weak. I've humored you men and coddled your fragile egos, but in no way does that mean that you actually have a say. I outrank you. I can destroy you. So I suggest you fall in line. I'm still your supreme." Woo! That was awesome. And then the door opens and Michael's outside, and he opens the door and says, "It's okay, I'll get your friend back." So he's listening. Still not sure, and that's one of the things that I'll talk about in the end. And certainly it is 3 years ago. I'm not sure if his powers are growing or what, but not sure how much he's able to perceive without actually hearing it with his ears. So then we're back after another commercial break, and we're in the underworld. Michael's there, and it's this almost patent leather hallway. It's really interesting. And he's walking down, and he opens up a door, and it's Misty's, I think, high school or grade school science room. And her hell, and this just seems terrible, is she is forever caught in a cycle where she has a dead frog that she's supposed to be dissecting, and then she brings it back to life. And then the science teacher with a kid kind of tells on her, and then the science teacher comes over and takes out a real one, a live one, and says, If you're not gonna do like the assignment on the formaldehyde frog, you're gonna do it on a real one. And so she's continually killing this frog and bringing it back to life, which just seems like a very specific kind of hell. And this happens again and again. It's kind of a Groundhog Day thing happening several times, until one time it is different because Michael comes in and guts the science teacher, and Misty, looking very shocked and perplexed, says, "Are you here to save me?" And then we are back at Miss Robichaux's, and Michael comes too, and they're all basically saying, assuming that Michael failed because Misty has not come back. But then after a few seconds, she begins to materialize kind of from dirt on the ground next to him, and quite a surprise to everybody. And then Cordelia's nose bleeds. And I'll talk about this again more in the end, but I'm wondering how much of what's happening for her is real and how much of what's happening to her is maybe something that she's doing to make it look like she's weak, because maybe she's still really strong, although we do see her in private moments looking at that wound. But I wonder if this nosebleed thing is something that happened on its own or if it's something that she made happen. Fenty Amber Contour. And then before she passes out again, she says, "There can be no doubt you're the next..." She doesn't actually say the word supreme. She kind of passes out before that happens, which I think is interesting. Then she wakes up on one of the couches, and it is Myrtle, Cordelia, and Misty. And Misty brings her some Lipton. And Cordelia says, "I've known you for such a short time, but I feel like I've missed you forever." And I've certainly had friends like that who just seem like fast friends, like people I've known my whole life. And I think that's a nice way to put it, because she didn't really know her for very long. And there definitely are people in my life that I feel like I've known for a long time, even though I haven't. Misty says some things to Myrtle and to Cordelia. So she's talking about how when she was there and he came in, she said, "I'm not educated, but I'm not a fool." And Evil was speaking to him, and we see the kids in the class kind of with their eyes rolled back white and their mouths open up and everything. And we don't hear anything. Fenty Yacht Life. And Cordelia says maybe he was negotiating your release from hell. And Misty says, "You would know better than me, Miss Cordelia, but I've sensed evil ever since I was a child. I could smell the sweet rot of a decaying soul, but I've never smelled anything quite like him. I don't know how to describe it. To me, he wore the perfume of death." Myrtle says, "What have we done? We've anointed that boy the next supreme." And Cordelia says, "He will never be the supreme." Essence all about Matt. And she says that she gave him the test because she needed to know how strong he was, that she knew that there was something dangerous and dark about him. I wanted to keep him close so we would be ready. So maybe it's one of those kind of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Something is coming. I can feel it. Whatever it is, Michael Langdon has already given us an advantage. He's brought all my girls back for me for the fight ahead. Misty says, "I can't fight. I've lost my footing, Miss Cordelia," because she's been in hell for a long time. And who knows like how long that feels like. "I don't know where I am anymore." Cordelia says, "You've done enough, Misty. You brought us the first proof. Now you need to heal." And I heard that I'd read kind of reviews about the fact that the Stevie Nicks thing was unnecessary in an episode where there was so much kind of plot to be covered. But I totally disagree. And I will say that I did not like Freak Show at all, because the musical part of it just annoyed me. I'm also not a fan of Glee. Just not a fan of musicals. Although now with what they're doing in this season with music, I'm kind of reconsidering it. I might need to watch Freak Show again. But I think that this was, the fact that they brought Stevie Nicks back to sing Gypsy was exactly what Misty needed to heal. And all of the nonverbal communication happening in the room, Stevie Nicks looking at Misty, and it seems like it's the thing that's reminding Misty of who she is and what she loves and what matters to her, and power and connection and all of those things. And it seems like Stevie Nicks is kind of giving secret messages to Misty about lightning striking maybe once, maybe twice, and it all comes down to you. I don't know. It felt like it was totally necessary, and I loved it. I'm gonna line with Bite number 78, and then I'm going to use LA Splash, one of the classic horror liquid lipsticks, in Howley. I'll see you on the other side of this. All right, so as Stevie is singing, there is some nonverbal communication happening between Cordelia and Madison. There's kind of a whoosh and Madison kind of turns her head, so it's clear that there's something happening. There seems like there's something happening between Ariel and Michael, but that's maybe more of a like, cheers to you, you're great, 7 Wonders, all that stuff. But the thing between Cordelia and Madison seems way more like there really was something going on between him. They go into a room a little bit further away. Cordelia is telling Madison that she's gonna go away to do some research about Michael, and because he's a danger to all of us. And Madison says, you know that Michael brought me back. Do you think I'd be loyal to him or something? And Cordelia says that you're only loyal to yourself. And then Behold Chablis comes in and says, when do we leave? I'm sorry, ladies. If eavesdropping paid money, I'd be richer than Amazon. She's saying she's traveling alone, and Behold says, maybe I just go to Michael and see what he thinks about this. Cordelia says, why wouldn't you do that anyway? Like, why wouldn't you go tell on us? And Behold says, maybe I have my own concerns about him. And Cordelia says, do you know something? And he says, maybe a gut feeling, a bad one. And they're gonna go together. The destination's on a piece of paper that Cordelia gives to Madison. And Madison says, what's so special about this place? And Cordelia says, it's where it all began. I'm getting chills as I even think about this. And then we get a shot of Murder House. And the next episode is going to be, I think it's called Back to Murder House. I really am getting goosebumps. I'm so excited. So, and I've kind of taught about some of these things during this whole video. But the 3 things that I'm left with are, is Cordelia really losing her power, or is she making it look like she's losing her power? The fact that there's a shot of her with a wound that's not healing, and that's something that we see as though she's alone looking at herself in the mirror, makes me think that maybe she is healing, but then I'm still wondering if there are things like her getting the nosebleeds, if those are things that she's causing to happen, or if they're just happening because she is losing power. If she is losing power because there's really a new Supreme coming up? Or is she losing power because of Michael, or a combination of both, or whatever? Who's the next Supreme? My initial bet is Mallory, but maybe that's too obvious. So I don't know who the next Supreme would be, but my initial bet is Mallory. And then, can the witches select who hears what? So I'm thinking about especially about the conversation that Cordelia and Myrtle and Misty had about all the stuff that happened. Although Misty didn't say what happened, but we saw it. All the things that happened down there, and that he smelled like death. So yeah, I'm wondering if they have any control over what other people hear, or if people are hearing everything and how that works. But I am so excited. I like this episode a lot. I'm really excited for Murder House. I'm maybe a little bit too excited. I hope my expectations aren't too high. I'm trying to kind of make them not be too high, but it's hard to do because I'm really excited. So thank you so much for watching. A lot to do in the world, a lot to do on YouTube, and it means a lot that you took some time to spend with me today. Take care, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.